One of the postures that I've thought a lot about is the idea of stillness. When I teach on solitude and silence, those are wonderful things. I love solitude and silence, but I have to think about my context and what does solitude and silence look like in my context. So there's not a lot of silence. In fact, I have to think about a spirituality of noise and how do I incorporate these noises into my life with God, right? And as I thought more and more about them, and the fact that it's nice to go away on a retreat, but what does it mean to find those things in the midst of my life? I've really come to the idea that maybe solitude and silence is a practices, but I think of stillness as the posture. Solitude and silence are going to happen in the midst of my context, but that posture of stillness, which comes from the practice of solitude and silence, is something that I can experience and practice in the midst of my context. The example that I think of is the desert in the city. So the early church fathers and mothers, Abbas and Abbas, they went to the desert. They got away from what they thought then were all these outside pressures for the encounter with God. But I believe that we can have that encounter right in the midst of our own context and right in the midst of our own cities. But I think the problem with a lot of us is that we spend so much time learning about all the things that are happening in the world. We spend a lot more time there than actually in the Bible. What does it mean not just to learn to listen to God at St. Andrew's monastery, but if I take what I learned about listening to God there, what does it mean to listen to God in MacArthur Park or walking the streets of Alvarado? So the practices for me are practices that help me do that. Help me to listen, help me to pay attention. So whether it's the Jesus prayer or a breath prayer, because without those, I would just be overwhelmed in my neighborhood. There's so much stuff coming at me. I use the term sometimes urban contemplative, and people go, isn't that an oxymoron? It's like, well, is it? Let's talk about that. So why can't one have a contemplative posture in the midst of the city? However, it takes a lot of practice to get to that point.